Alright guys, with no delay, we're going straight back in with another video about a year's worth of artwork in Procreate. Now this video I chose to focus on like my kind of like cell shaded type artwork, my kind of comic booky or anime style of stuff. I know comic books and anime aren't directly the same thing, but they use a lot of similar art techniques. Not that similar, but similar-ish. So what I wanted to do was kind of just, when I first got Procreate, I wanted to use it for everything. I really had this different idea about Procreate than what it actually was. Because I watched a lot of guys use it that were kind of very super advanced. And I was getting this stipulation that it was this, application that had this really, really good blending brush. And I could do all these cool things in it that I couldn't do in Photoshop. That wasn't what ended up happening. What ended up happening was, it was a great solid piece of software, but it was basically like Photoshop but more streamlined for an iPad. So what you've just seen is my first piece of artwork flashed by, and I'm on my second. There'll be a lot of Afro-headed characters in this companion, and I've always kind of wanted to make companions of art. I kind of selfishly wanted to keep all of the kind of pieces individual and then post them all separately, and I might make longer videos if people want to see that. Like, I think this one would make a cool video, the one that's on the screen at the minute, but I'm not sure that I'm that bothered about doing that, but I'll, maybe I will. But as I said, it's when I first got Procreate, literally I felt like painting on it was a daunting task because it didn't feel as good as Photoshop, like in terms of actual just painting and drawing. And then I kind of decided, okay, cool. So for now, until some better brushes come along, or until I get better at using this software, or I figure it out, and I went through manually learning all the brush functions and what makes what happen, and I tweaked loads of, I've probably made about 200, 300 brushes myself in Procreate. I've gone into Photoshop, I've copied some of my brush stamps, I've made brushes that kind of certain artists was using that were popular at the time, and kind of made brushes that I used to use myself, just to make it an easier experience for me. But firstly, when I got Procreate, it was all about cell shading, because that was something you can do instantly without any kind of thought, and I'm the type of guy who, I don't really, if I do really clean line art like these ones, like this is what's on the screen right now, I won't do like blotchy colors. I won't do painterly colors with clean line art. And that's something I need to get over and start doing more often, because I've seen artists on Instagram doing painterly colors with line art, and it's killer. Their line arts aren't as clean though. They use like grainy brushes and stuff, but still it's absolutely killer. And that's something that, right now I've been thinking about just doing more of. Ignore that, that's my phone. It seems every time I'm recording I get a message. I probably should put it on silent, but I'm a very busy man. I need to kind of be on top of what messages I get right now. Anyway, so when it came to cell shading, as I said, it was right out of the box. You could go straight into it. You wouldn't have any issues. You kind of know how to do it. And it was the easiest thing to do at the time, to be honest. And the tools that were already in Procreate, I didn't have to make any new brushes or anything. I could just kind of go in and do some cell shading. But in the end, I obviously wanted to expand and do more painterly stuff. But this is literally just me going in and showing like the stuff I enjoyed doing cell shading wise, and and I did a lot of it. This isn't even half of it. This is just some. I'm probably going to make another video at some point. I'm probably going to post a few videos of like specific pieces, as I said. But the process really works in Procreate, the cell shading process. There's a few artists that I feel like would do it better than me. There's a guy called Jeffrey Cruz. He's very famous. That's Jeffrey Cruz. He's very famous. He's known as the Chamber. He's like a, I think he's Chinese or something like that. He could be Thai or Filipino. I'm not sure, and I apologize if I'm offending people of that phenotype. But he lives in Australia, but he's kind of like a Chinese looking guy. And he's such a good artist. Every time he does cell shading, it just looks amazing. He just has this way with cell shading, and I never have reached that level. And I'm not afraid to admit that. That's a goal, a cell shading goal. As a guy who likes cell shaded artwork, I feel like he pushes it to its limit. And I feel like if he used Procreate, he'd be producing some of the coolest stuff. But he doesn't. I think he uses Clip Studio Paint. I don't even think he uses the iPad. I need to check on his account, but I went on his Instagram yesterday and I don't think he has an iPad Pro. I don't think he's doing iPad Pro work yet. I really want him to get one so I can be inspired and just do more stuff on my iPad in the vein of what he does. But there's been some pieces like this Shazam piece that's on the screen right now. This was one that I felt like was a smash hit for me. This was one that I thought, yeah, I did well with this. And the reason is simply because I kept it simple and I didn't go too hard in the thought process. I just tried to make it nice and clean. I tried to kind of tell a story of how he's transforming. And honestly, here's a tip, an artistic tip for anyone that kind of wants to make their work look more cinematic. Just do it landscape. Just do a landscape canvas. Just do a landscape canvas, and if you're doing like a scene with a character and stuff like that, maybe add some debris, maybe add some blurred clouds or something like that, maybe blur the background out, give like a depth of field. There's lots of techniques you can use, and there's lots of techniques you learn over time, that can just help you go through. So this was kind of a cell shaded piece. It started out cell shaded, and then I kind of went in and added color. Added blend into it just to kind of make it look more effective. And then I think I did some more cell shading over the top of the blending just to get like a cool effect, because cell shading doesn't always have to just be cell shaded kind of like sharp tones. Fully enough about this piece is I started it in Photoshop and ended it in Procreate, and I completely forgot about it. It was on my computer and I sent it to my iPad like, yeah, I'm gonna finish this on my iPad, and I ended up doing it, and I was just happy with the way it came out. Just a different take on Goku. He's my favorite kind of like comic book character, or one of my favorite fictional characters ever. Someone to live by. But yeah, it's a situation, where if you're a guy who likes kind of like manga, comic books, cell shading, animation, Procreate's for you. Procreate is a tool that you can utilize to get almost any of those effects. And not just those effects, but if this is what you kind of want to focus on, if you want to do kind of like lines and then color, it's in the bag. Like that's light work. Like that's very doable. Like that's gonna be something that you absolutely positively can just achieve with nothing standing in your way. Straight out of the box. You're not gonna need any customs. As I said, you're not gonna need any of that. Maybe if you're not that good at cell shading, or if you're just learning or whatever, maybe watch a few tutorials on like how to actually do cell shaded color. Maybe do something like that. But at the same time, like, straight up, you'll be able to kind of go in. Like within my first 5 minutes of sitting down with Procreate after I bought it was I did a cell shaded character. I haven't even posted it yet. I'm gonna post that in another video. I completely forgot about it. It was so far back on the iPad that maybe I'll make another companion and talk about that. But it's just very doable, as I've said, and I've repeated myself a lot in this video talking about that. So I'm going to talk about the pieces. So this was, a hero character. I have a lot of original characters. I do a lot of drawings of this same character in different kind of like style. He'll usually be in a superhero outfit, but he'll have like different hairstyles and stuff like this. I think this one was like meant to be like a more stylish version of him. Oh, it changed. And this character here is another original character. It's not the same character, but it's another original character. I'll give you a little tip about this guy. His kind of like superpower is that his vision is too strong. His eyesight is really powerful. It's kind of like a Sharingan in a Naruto, but for the most part, he keeps his eyes closed, because when they're closed, he can kind of sense most of the world. And when they're open, it's kind of like too much going on for him. But at the same time, he's at his most powerful when his eyes are open. So he spends a lot of his time with his eyes closed, but he can still see because his eyelids aren't really that much of a filter, but they are a filter enough to kind of keep out all of the extra forces that kind of can distract him. But at the same time, when he's in that distracted state, he's a lot more powerful. So, I've just been, as I said, creating original characters, doing a lot of stuff just with the power of Procreate, just been trying to, have fun and at the same time develop new cell shading techniques, but it's very fun in Procreate to just experiment. And as I said, because it's so at hand, this is the most at hand a piece of professional software has ever been for artists all the time. I know people have had Surface Pros, but it's not the same. It's not as intuitive. I've used the Surface Pro. I've used the Cintiq. I've used these things. It's not the same. You know, this is like built for an artist, and I'm not campaigning just for Procreate. I still think if you use Photoshop, you should stick to Photoshop, because I do think Photoshop's better. It's way more versatile and it'll make your process easier. But Procreate is catching up to all of these software, and if you're not in, you're out. And you should always be able to, you know, as if you can just create professional level artwork on an iPad and you can take it everywhere with you, why wouldn't you do that if you can afford an iPad and if you can afford Procreate, which is a one-time payment of $10 or £10. I paid £10 UK. I think it's $10 in the US as well. So I think they're kind of getting more out of their UK, purchases. I think that equates to about $15. But in the end, so much value to be had. I've done, like, this, for example, is a piece of client work, and I got paid, reasonably for this piece. And literally, I did, on the honest truth, I was sat in McDonald's with my friend after a gym session. We didn't eat any McDonald's food. I think we had I got a slushie or something. But we went to the gym, which is in the city centre, and then we went to McDonald's, and I said, yo, I got client work. He lived in the city centre at the time, and I sat down and just did this piece and got paid for it, and it took me about an hour, maybe less, So you just think about that, the capabilities of Procreate and what you can do. But anyway, guys, I've been Fiji. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Stay Procreate.